Hey, Simone here, as always, with some ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're getting ready to make sure that you're set up right when you're really getting on growing your business. So today what I want to address is something that's not talked about a whole lot, but the CEO roller coaster, as in anxiety, depression, burnout, the kind of stuff that happens to a ton of people. Actually, the statistics say 40% of entrepreneurs say that entrepreneurship is bad for their mental health. So anxiety, depression, substance abuses, divorce, all that kind of stuff is pretty real because, as most of you can probably testify to, building a business is not for the faint of heart. It takes a ton of grit. It takes a ton of commitment. And a lot of times what comes short is you, your loved ones, your relationships, everything else that's not business. So, the truth is, like, building a business and seeing it grow is deeply fulfilling, but the truth is it's really high emotional stress. And the other part that happens is the higher up you get, the more lonely it gets, because there are fewer and fewer people who can relate to you. There are fewer and fewer people that you can really share your mind with. There are fewer and fewer people that you can ask for advice or that you can kind of unpack with. So it's it's stressful being really responsible for other people. By the time you hire team members, now you're responsible not just for that one person, but a lot of times a whole family. And you might be working 80 plus hours a week. You might have no family time whatsoever. And we all know the thing about time. It's the one thing you can never get back. So the conversation with my clients and in our mastermind, it's not something people really want to talk about. And there's this kind of code of honor around grinding and working a ton of hours and loving what you do and putting your whole heart into it. And that's all true and that's all wonderful. But honestly, living the grind is not cool. It's not honorable. It's not glorious. There's so little that actually makes it awesome. And the really crazy part is it's not super effective. It's not super productive. And there's far better ways to do it. Now, you probably look at me like rolling your eyes and going, well, that all sounds great, but I'm already not getting done what I need to get done. So don't tell me to manage my time better or take a walk, but that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. Because this is really and take this from somebody who has had to deal with adrenal burnout and all sorts of stuff where I didn't take care of myself. And I see that with a lot of our clients who don't take care of themselves. And then they start having significant health problems. And it's so much harder to come back from that than it is to be a bit more proactive and be conscious about it and actually do what you need to do so you can protect your health and your emotional well-being and keep that anxiety and burnout in check, which is also going to make you a much more effective business owner, CEO, team leader, mentor, all those things. So we're going to talk about a few things to pay attention to, and many of them might sound like they're super vanilla and so self-evident, but they're still not really being done. And I'm going to start with a couple that are much more about how you see yourself. And the first one being how you talk to yourself, your self-talk. And a lot of us, when we get stressed, we become like drill sergeants with ourselves. And we say things to ourselves that we would not say to anybody else. And there's actually a ton of research out there, and many around entrepreneurs, highly functioning, highly achieving CEOs and Olympians, high performers, who realize that high performance doesn't really mean perfection. It means striving. It means having discipline. And it means also that you're human and that you have to look at your ambition with a kind eye. Because all of you who are perfectionists, you probably realize that that doesn't get you to a better outcome. It's more frustrating on the way. It takes you longer. And most of the time, what's so important to you, most other people barely notice. And you're not going to get things done in a sustainable way. So that self-talk, really being around, being more kind to yourself, being more human with yourself, setting realistic expectations and realistic ambitions within being a high performer. So it's kind of this thin line between, yes, you're going to set audacious goals because that's who you are, but you're not going to set them that high that you're creating an insane amount of pressure and stress for yourself, which is going to take away from your outcome. So making sure you control and kind of curate your self-talk is a big piece. Also, approaching the situation with flexibility and freedom. You know, you want to look at this. This is something that always amazes me with our clients. They set really ambitious goals, and then they achieve those goals and they zoom straight by that, and they didn't even realize it happened. They sort of did, but they're already on to the next thing. And they don't take the time for celebration, for acknowledgement, and giving themselves a little rest. So when things go well, give yourself a little freedom. Give yourself a little room. Make sure that you acknowledge, that you give yourself that internal gratification, that you reset, and that you don't always keep driving relentlessly. So you achieve this high goal that you set for yourself, take a little time, cruise for a moment, regroup, reset your brain, breathe. And this is a huge piece, a really effective piece against burnout, is do something opposite. Do something that has nothing to do with work. Get away from work. Have a hobby that you love. Do something that you love that has nothing to do with work. And I know from a lot of our clients that they really have to dig deep and figure out what that is, because they haven't thought about that in a long time. So you want to make sure that you actually ask yourself, if I weren't working, what would I love to do? You know, for me, I love to play pickleball, and that always gets me out, and that always gets me excited. It's a great workout. It's a great mind resetter and so many things. And everybody has to find whatever it is they're passionate about that rebuilds them internally and externally as well, because it's a great practice of mind and body. So find something like that. A lot of people love going to the gym. You know, if you have any hobbies, going out in the garden, whatever it is, but get out of your office. If you love to read, don't read a business book. Do something complete opposite from business, because just doing that has been proven to really go far with burnout. And I know I'm not saying anything new right here. I know you've heard all of this before, but when you're at this stage of your business, now this is more important than ever, because like I said earlier, once you get into a burnout stage where your adrenals are flat, you're not producing the chemicals, the internal chemicals you need to produce to actually be a high achiever, it's really hard to come back. So it's not I'll do that someday when I have time. It's a do it now. And this is, I read this great article in Harvard Business Review that was something like Live Like a Greek in Detroit. And they were talking about the Mediterranean lifestyle being something that really helps with burnout, that gets people better lifespan, more health, more happiness, all that kind of stuff. And in the article, they were relating it to, okay, so how do you do that when you can't just run away and live in Greece? So it's like, and that's why, you know, live your Mediterranean lifestyle, live like a Greek in Detroit, because you can do all this stuff right now. And this is starting with the really simple stuff. Diet, exercise, and the third piece, the most important piece, having social connection. So when you're thinking about diet, you know, are you always on the run? Are you not taking time to eat? You know, what are you eating? Because you are what you eat, you know, the garbage in, garbage out thing. And I might be preaching to the choir. I might be saying stuff you've heard over and over, but have you paid attention to this in a while? So you can start with this today by making better choices. Not eating the junk, going for fresh whole foods, making sure you make time to eat, listening to your body. And you might say to me, oh, my body wants sugar and booze all the time, or chips, whatever it is. But do this in a smart way so that you can nourish yourself in a way where your body can actually be that high performer that you are telling it to be. And of course, this goes again with the Mediterranean lifestyle. Follow a Mediterranean diet. That seems to work for a lot of people. And whatever it is, everybody has their own food choices, but you know what you should be eating, what you probably shouldn't, and you also know what truly feeds your body and what doesn't. So I'm just saying, pay a little attention. The other part that's of course well known is self-care through exercise, because there's tons of research that shows that when you exercise regularly, it really improves your mental health. It takes care of all sorts of fun brain hormones and chemicals that make you feel better, that counteract the stress hormones like cortisol and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you exercise because it's good for your body and for your mind. So exercise actually equals mental health, and it's there's statistics that show just adding one good workout a week that it makes a huge difference. So it helps with anxiety, it helps with mood swings, and it makes your brain work more effectively. So you don't care about any of the other stuff. Just hear that it makes you a better performer because you can focus better, and you're more likely to focus on the right stuff. So the best CEOs in the world have frequent or daily exercise routines. So you can read about that. Don't take it from me. There's tons and tons of research about that. It's not, you have to move your body for it to really work. And here's the thing, this kind of goes right back to perfectionism. We're not going to go for something that sounds like a great idea. Oh, I'm going to exercise 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. Maybe that sounds like a great way to go for this, but you already know you're not going to do that. You already know you're not going to keep doing that, and that's the most important thing. So this is not about perfectionism. It's more about coming up with a routine that you will keep doing, so that this is actually it's a habit, just like anything else. Just like binge watching Netflix or zoning out on Facebook or whatever you do is a habit, so can regular exercise can be the same thing for you. So you're not going to go for perfection. Just really be honest with yourself and go, all right, what is something I can and will do every day or 5 days a week? And you can do even 6 to 10 minute workouts, like 6 to 10 minutes of meaningful getting your heart rate up is actually very effective. So that goes with things like walking to the bus station or walking the stairs, or just simple everyday stuff where you can choose constructive exercise over being comfortable or being kind of lazy. So I'm just saying, just kind of look into what you already do and make a better choice when there's a choice that you can make. So food, exercise, and then taking breaks. It's super important. It's like one of the biggest productivity hacks there is. Like, you need to recharge. So even 15-minute breaks in between your productivity blocks makes a really big difference. So when you're choosing your kind of power block to be an hour, well, take 15 minutes to take a nap, take a walk, dance around the office, do something that's different. Because what happens is, again, it's like a reboot for your brain, so that you can come back to the problem and be much, much better at solving it than grinding will do. Like, this is the hard part, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we want to solve the problem. we're committed to it, we're obsessed with it. So it's very easy to just get sucked into it and keep going, but your brain is less and less effective as you do that. So when you take a break, it is like a computer reboot. Your brain's function actually resets. And what happens is once you do that, there's many different parts of your brain working on one problem, a different part of the brain takes over. So suddenly you come up with a solution that you didn't see before. That's why, some of the best solutions happen in the shower, because you let go of the stuff that you were kind of really entrenched into. You give your brain a little break and it come back to you going, hey, this is the solution. Didn't think of this before, because let's kick in a different part of the brain. So take those breaks, even when they're short, because you will come back to whatever you're working on with a whole new level of commitment and clarity and much better ideas. So when you think about, how do you reach the best solutions? That's the other part about taking a break, is when you're already stressed and tight and kind of obsessed and getting foggy because you've been staring at something for too long, that is a high stress frame of mind. And it's really difficult to come up with really good solutions when you're already kind of in stress and anxiety and that heightened state of emotion that's not resourceful. So you want to start with a low stress mind frame, whether that's you just had lunch with a friend, or you took a nap, or you did something that actually lowered that stress in your body and your mind so that you can approach this from a fresh point of view. Very, very important. So that 15-minute break that you thought you didn't have time for is going to help you regain hours on the other side. So don't discount that piece. And then, like I said earlier, one of the biggest contributors to lowering anxiety, depression, increasing focus, happiness, all that kind of stuff is social connection, your relationships. And that's something that oftentimes comes so short when you're working 24/7, when you're constantly jumping in, when you're having to cancel social events, when you're having to disappoint your family, when your friends barely know you anymore because you're always in the trenches. And all of this does not actually work to build a company that can grow and scale. And I'll talk about that in a second. But the point about connection is it builds those endorphins, and those are so important to be that innovative, creative, and high-performing business owner that you are. So you want to make sure that you keep rebuilding that. So as we talked about in the beginning, it's a lonely business being an entrepreneur and being at the top. So, and with all the digital times that we live in, the AI stuff, all the stuff that's coming down, it creates more and more disconnect. It creates less and less of those moments when you're actually in the same room, physical room, with other humans, sharing a story, a laugh, a beverage, or whatever it is, but you're having that like person-to-person connection that is just so important. And we know that that piece alone, when that doesn't happen, you ruin your relationships, whether it's with your spouse or with friends or what in community. And once you lose that, of course, it makes everything so much harder. You need that community and that support system that can actually help you through the tough times. So you want to make sure that you keep that in place, that you make intentional time for that so that you can be happier and less stressed. And look, when you are rested and relaxed, guess what? You'll be ready to roll. You'll be ready to produce much better results than you have in a long time. So, there's even in ancient writings, there's a saying that says, do nothing and everything will get done. It's, I think, in the Tao that was written. Do nothing and everything will get done. Now, it doesn't mean you're just going to sit there, but it means let go of the stress, let go of the striving and constantly pushing and constantly making something happen. You have to do your part 100%, but then you have to take a breath and you have to let the universe work its magic with you. So I know this is completely different from what we usually talk about, but this has just come up a lot in the last week, so I wanted to share this with you. And like I said, all of what I just said is what you have to do to build a company that can actually grow and scale. None of the grinding is actually sustainable, and it's not something that will build you a company that you actually want to work in. So we want to build what we call a self-managing company where you're the director and your team and your structure are the executors that make this thing happen for you. We have a brand new training out there that we just recorded. So go to bulletproofbusinessgrowth.com/leap, bulletproofbusinessgrowth.com/leap, or click the button somewhere around this video and check out the new training that'll set you up in a much better way so you're not grinding it out day after day after day, completely losing connection with what you got into business for. So I hope this helps. Have a fabulous week, and I will talk to you next time.